Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Elusive Surrender by V. Amari, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Chapter 1, Sheldon. The sun is shining against the backdrop of a clear blue sky in the city of Manhattan. My partners and I are just coming off a long shift with an overnight flight to Bel Air and back. Another crew is in place, safeguarding the family and paid to protect while we take a much-needed couple-hour reprieve. Nick's sitting in the passenger seat in the sporty black sedan and spots a brick-fronted coffee shop boasting of homemade Danish. Right-hand side, he yells. Roger that, Cole replies, tapping the brake and skillfully veering lanes in the congested New York City traffic before sliding perfectly into the only parking space left on the street. I laugh under my breath. Nick and Cole are more like family than co-workers, and both clearly need a sugar fix. I should have taken my car to the airstrip and parked, but since I didn't, I followed these two sugar hounds into the building that smells of freshly made cinnamon and bread. Can you order me a large coffee? I ask, nodding toward the restroom, but not waiting for a response before making my way toward the back. When done, I walk out deep in thought, contemplating the multitude of things that still need to be done to ensure Katerina Preston is safeguarded when she finally meets her relatives, who just happen to be the most notorious crime family in Italy. Give that back, a female voice huffs. I look up just in time to avoid being taken out by a furious petite blonde who's standing between the tables, blocking my path. She's trying to snatch something out of a large bearded man's hand, almost backhands me for the second time in the process. Whoa, what seems to be the problem? I ask, grasping her wrist, looking first to her and then to the man still seated at the table. Neither appears in a hurry to explain. I clear my throat. I asked a question. I'm so sorry. It's nothing really, the woman finally says, but her alabaster skin is dotted pink, closely matching the color of her lips, and her bright violet blue eyes are fixed intently on the man. He continues leering at her, holding a card in his hand and turning it over to display a picture of the woman standing next to me. A business card, and now her concern is apparent. The lady would like her card back. The man sits taller in his chair and makes a show of spinning it on the table in front of him before responding. She dropped it. I picked it up, and now it belongs to me. It most certainly does not, the blonde huffs. The man crudely looks her up and down, outwardly ogling her and it tells me everything he doesn't need to say. He's still focused on scaring the lady. I reach over and grab her card off the table. What the fuck? He explodes, almost toppling his chair as he stands up and straightens to his full 6 feet plus height. In his bulky combat boots, he stands nearly eye level with me. That doesn't belong to you, he jeers. The lady doesn't want you to have it. Why don't we call it a day? He doesn't even pretend to consider the suggestion. Instead, he takes a hefty swing, but his size doesn't give an advantage when it comes to speed. I easily capture his arm, twisting the limb and pushing it upward until he has no choice but to sit where I'm putting him or face a break that won't quickly heal. Fuck, that bitch ain't worth it. I raise his left arm even higher. His mouth clamps down in obvious pain. But to his credit, he doesn't say another word until I tell him to do precisely that. Apologize now. When he looks at her, excuse me. When he looks at her, there's an evil glint in his eyes. I reach out with my other hand, restrain his face, and force him to look at me. You don't even glance at the lady. Apologize, and then we're going to call it a day. He mumbles under his breath. Sorry. It's about as heartfelt as one would expect from someone forced to give it, but I don't want him anywhere near this lovely blonde even for another minute. Get lost. The bearded Neanderthal makes haste, heading for the door. As he reaches it, he slowly turns around as if in slow motion, and all for effect, giving the lady one last leer and a creepy, exaggerated wink. She inhales sharply as he walks out the door. My jaw clenches with aggravation. I turn the business card over in my hand. The salon is right down the street. If he took a good look at it, he knows exactly where to find her. Texting Cole, who's standing by the door, I watch him pull out his phone and read my sentence, telling him to follow the asshole and get his plates. He nods at me, and my attention reverts back to the woman, and her wide, violet blue eyes search me intently. I appreciate your help, and I'm so sorry for all the fuss. I dropped my card on the way to the bathroom, and he took it as an invitation to hit on me. A little crudely, if you know what I mean. I'm Alexis, she informs me, her blonde curls bobbing as she talks. It's no problem. My name is Sheldon, and I gathered as much. You need to call the police and fill out an incident report. I don't have time to hang around, but if they have questions, you can give them my contact number. I respond, handing her my business card. Her brow crinkles. You really think it's necessary to call the police? I mean, he was a total jerk, but he didn't do anything illegal. Her head tilts as if she waits for my answer, and it's difficult to focus on anything except the long, bare, creamy expanse of her neck. Only because he wasn't given the chance. I've seen this type a million times, and by the look in his eyes, he's not done with what he has in mind. Call the police, Alexis. Bossy much? Her curls sweep behind her shoulder as she meets my eyes, a scowl marring her beautiful face. Almost immediately, her face breaks into a smile, and even though she tries to cover it with her hand, I see it before she can hide it. My lips quirk at her attempted but failed sass. She has absolutely no idea just how bossy I can be. More than you'll ever know, I retort, because no woman will ever see that side of me again, except the regulars at the club, the ones who thrive at doing as they are asked, and are perfectly happy to go back to their everyday lives afterward. No explanations, no negotiations other than limits, and definitely no misconceptions. Her plump pink lips draw into a tight line, and Alexis tosses her curls at me as she digs into the handbag hanging from her shoulder. Well, thanks for the help. I'll consider calling the police when I get back to the shop. I draw my eyes away from the curve of her hips and indented waist as she triumphantly holds up a set of keys. I'm sure my face shows my surprise. It wasn't a question, Alexis. If a report hasn't been filed by the end of the day, I'll do it myself. And I don't think that's what you want. Turning, I leave her pondering how a perfect stranger would even know if she did or didn't file it. Nick is at the cafe door with all our drinks in a bag, no doubt filled to the brim with sugary desserts. I relieve him of the cardboard carrier of coffee, and before Cole's even rejoined us, he's torn open the sack and devoured one of the glazed donuts. Cole catches up to us by the time we reach the car, and Nick holds the bag out for him so he can pick out a donut before he gets into the driver's seat. None for you? Nick asks, but it's more of a statement than a question because he knows I won't eat sugar for breakfast. I shake my head, getting into the back seat. Cole has a long chocolate pastry hanging out of his mouth as he starts the car. Did you get the plate number? I ask, placing each of their coffees in the holders between them before taking a drink of my own. I've got it. Give me a sec, Cole mumbles, pulling his seatbelt around him. Got a picture of the plate. He forwarded it to me before starting the car and pulling into traffic. The minute the license number comes through, I send it to our intel department, instructing them to give me a full report on the man in the coffee shop and Alexis Barrington, the pretty little blonde. Katerina has a meeting with her great uncle, who just happens to be the Don of Italy, the very one suspected of putting a hit on her father, the kingpin of New York City. It takes a multitude of calls to ensure her safety from the Italian family, and by the time I'm done, we're nearing the other side of the city. We've almost arrived at the skyrise, which is home to Chase and Katerina when they are in the city. My cell rings right before we're about to pull up, and it's the big boss himself. Everything okay, Chase? Hi, Sheldon. There's been a slight change in plans. We're going to need some help preparing Katerina for the meeting with her great uncle. I need a hairdresser, and Gabby didn't realize the one we usually call is on vacation. Any chance you can find someone trustworthy or that already has security clearance? Sorry for the short notice, but I didn't realize our regular wasn't available. I've been assigned to keep this man's wife safe for quite some time, and Chase Prestian has more money than most people in the world, yet his humility never ceases to amaze me. No apology necessary. I'll work on it right now. Greatly appreciated, Sheldon. The line disconnects, and my mind immediately reverts to the vivacious blonde with striking violet blue eyes and a sassy mouth. Cole, flip around. We're headed to Salon Diva. Giving him the address, Google pulls up on my phone. I ignore the grinning face looking at me from the rearview mirror. Nick half turns in his seat, and his face spreads into a broad grin. Something we should know? The ladies' man of the group probably means well enough, but he's always on the prowl and always trying to hook me and Cole up with his date's friends. We've both put up with his playful pestering to a point, but neither have ever taken him up on his offers. Chase needs a hairdresser for Katerina this afternoon, I remark, and then send a message to have Intel get me the report on Alexis in the next 10 minutes. The drive-through bumper-to-bumper traffic at mid-morning gives me a chance to read the in-depth summary when it arrives. Alexis Barrington, 23 years old, grew up with both parents in the suburbs of New York, about an hour north of the city. Active in language and communication clubs, fluent in English, French, Italian, and Spanish. She graduated high school magna cum laude at 18 years of age. Instead of taking the summer off, she started cosmetology classes. She graduated after 18 months, 6 months earlier than expected, and all while working nights and weekends cashiering at a local grocery store. At 19 and a half, she was accepted to New York State University and began working full-time toward a bachelor's degree in business. About the same time, she switched jobs and started working nights and weekends as a hairstylist in a shop near her home. She graduated from NYU, again at the top of her class, a week shy of her 23rd birthday, and another 6 months early. About 6 months ago, she took a job at Salon Diva and moved into an apartment in the city. No police record, very minimal school debt and savings that seem impressive for her age. No significant other reference, no red flags in terms of security, and in a pinch, with heavy protection for the family, she'll do. Cole pulls alongside the red brick store that is Salon Diva, and Nick opens the passenger door, but I don't think so. Stay here with Cole. I won't be long. Ignoring his stupid grin, I slam the car door behind me as I exit the car.